Hello, travelers. Welcome to the Copperfoxinn, where we discuss homebrew for Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. My name is Thomas the Human Bard, and I am joined today by...
Onog the half-orc barbarian.
And we are off on a side quest where we are reviewing the psychic psionic subclasses Unearthed Arcana from Wizards of the Coast. They just published this the other day. We've done an overview, and we've looked at the Psychic Warrior, the Soul Knife, and today we will be looking at the wizardly subclass, the Arcane Tradition, Psionics.
Which, for those of you who have been following, seems like probably the greatest oxymoron we've ever heard.
It's definitely a purposeful change that Wizards of the Coast has made to re-flavor Psionics as magic. And I don't think I know anyone who likes the idea.
Well, it's like saying a psionic wizard is like saying, "Oh yeah, that's my sorcerer wizard." Like, what does that mean? Those don't mix. Those aren't the same thing.
For most people, it's such a different thing, and especially in the lore flavor introduction here, wizards study magic in all its forms, including the magic of psionics. So many people. Like, I saw so many comments where that's like, they just stomped on my heart. They ripped my heart out, and they stomped on it.
It's like, psionics are explicitly not magic, so how does that work, buddy?
Uh-huh.
It's like the difference between Professor Xavier and Stephen Strange. They are not the same thing.
Those wizards who follow the tradition of psionics hone the magical potential of their own minds, sometimes called psionicists or mentalists, or, in parentheses, mystics, I guess maybe you could call them, but probably not. Probably we wouldn't call them that. These wizards interact with the multiverse through the lens of their psionic aptitude and awareness. That's a puff sentence, my friend. I don't know if you have heard of that before, but that's called a puff sentence.
A sentence that doesn't mean anything or means something that you literally just said?
It's just a lot of words that didn't say too much, and they were flavorful, sure, but even I don't know really what that flavor was. Mm-hmm. Psionicists channel their magic by focusing their minds. Could you imagine if it was like their hands?
Wait, what?
By doing so, they can transcend their physical bodies, adopting forms of pure thought, casting spells psionically to bypass the need for components, perceiving the world with a broader range of senses. As a member of the Psionics tradition, you might have awoken your psionic potential through the strain of your esoteric studies, or perhaps you joined a scholarly order dedicated to unlocking the magic of the mind. Man, is there already an astral projection spell in D&D?
Yeah, there's an astral projection spell. It's like...
Seems kind of awkward that that's already a spell and we're going to pretend this isn't just astral projection, but okay.
Well, that's the thing, is like, I'm sure that this wizard, once they reach 17th level or whatever, will be able to take astral projection. I think it's an 8th level spell.
Wait.
Or 7th level spell.
So they can turn into a ghost that lives in the psionic realm of existence and then astral project from that?
Yeah, let's see what happens. We put too many mods on Skyrim, and now I'm moving through doors.
When I move through the x-axis, I also move through time. Uh-oh.
Whoops.
Oh boy. Okay, Onog, hit me with that second level feature.
The second level feature is the Psionic Focus. Second level, Psionic, whatever.
Yeah.
Mind Wizard feature. You have learned to channel psionic energy through a special object, a psionic focus. You gain the object with this feature. Isn't that nice?
Oh, good.
See.
It just pops up. You get it.
It just zaps in there. I think that's literally what it says. But
yeah.
While your psionic focus is on your person, you gain the following benefits. The object is a spell-casting focus for you. Which is nice. Normally your focus has to be on your person for you to use it.
It would be really awkward if that wasn't one of these bullet points.
But I think that what that really is saying is that this cannot be used as a spellcasting focus for anyone other than you.
Okay, sure, fair enough.
Which is not something I've ever had come up as an issue, but okay.
I've never had people swapping their spellcasting focuses
Quick,
around.
let me borrow your holy symbol. I don't think that's how this works. When you roll psychic or force damage for any of your wizard spells, you can re-roll any of those damage dice rolls at 1. Or wait, so you can re-roll any of those damage dice that rolls a 1, but you must use the new roll. So you kind of get great weapon fighting style, but for psychic and force damage.
Great psychic fighting style.
Great psychic fighting. Now, let me look this up real quick, because I was going to do it earlier, but I ran out of time. Let's look up all the wizard spells that do psychic and force damage.
There's a few. There's more than we would want to list all of, I believe. But we also gain more in this document. So
yeah, you also gain more in this document. So yeah, so you get quite a number. They're all spread evenly across the thing. So like, unlike the storm sorcerer abilities, where it's like when you cast a spell that uses lightning or thunder damage, which are like 4 of them, this actually has application throughout every level of spell.
Question.
Yep.
First of all, real quick, Vicious Mockery is not a wizard spell, just a bard spell, right?
Yeah.
Okay. If I multi-class into bard after this level, I cannot use this feature on Vicious Mockery.
Because it's a bard spell.
That's the worst.
Because it was not a wizardly spell.
I hate
now,
that.
Let's talk about this enormous paragraph that talks about your psionic focus.
Oh, and also skipped real quick. It says if it is lost, you can magically recreate it by meditating.
Because it's in your mind, you can just make it again, kind of thing. It's very similar to the book Warlocks, the Pact of the Tome Warlocks. Yep. All right, so your psionic focus. Every member of the Psionics tradition has a story about how their psionic focus came into their life. Consider how you found yours and what form it takes. So this is basically saying,
I met mine at a college party.
You find your psionic focus, and it looks like however you want and wherever you want.
Yeah. It's just this is an inspiration insert box, but there's no mechanics in here.
There's no actual mechanics kind of described. I find it interesting that the psionics tradition, the arcane tradition of psionics, spends so much time talking about the focus. I almost said focusing on the focus, but I thought better of it.
Oh, nice, thank you. But
especially considering there are later level abilities that say you don't need to use a magic focus for your spells. And it's just well, then what was the point of me having a special one?
Yeah. A little weird. There's also, it says in this box, will you mount it on a wand or staff? Would you prefer to wear it on a necklace or circlet? And I thought there was isn't there rules about if you can actually wear magic focuses or not?
Well, you can wear your magic focus. You just, when you use a spell that requires a material component, thus that would require your focus, you have to have it in one of your hands. So you can wear it, but you have to be touching it.
Socks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, sure. Yeah. The flavor is fine. The flavor team has done a good job on this. The flavor side of most of these subclasses is pretty decent. I'm more frustrated with some of the mechanics and the, of course, blasphemy that the flavor team has in constructing the phrase "the magic of Psion."
Yeah.
Let's see. The next level feature is the second level feature, Psionic Devotion. Your study of psionics begins to unleash your mind's potential. When you gain this feature, choose one of the following cantrips: Friends, Mage Hand, or Message. You learn that cantrip if you don't already know it, and it doesn't count against the number of wizard cantrips you know. While your psionic focus is on your person, you can cast the chosen cantrip as a bonus action, requiring no components, and with the modification listed below. There's one for each one. So Friends, when you cast Friends this way, when the spell ends, the target doesn't become hostile to you. Ooh. Mage Hand, you can make the Mage Hand invisible when you cast the spell, and controlling the spell is a bonus action for you. Less of an ooh, more of a, okay, that's kind of just how Mage Hand works.
That's what they've been doing.
Yeah, it's fine. And Message, you don't need to point toward the target or whisper your message out loud. Cool, right. I guess.
All right, Thomas, you've inspired me. I'm gonna take a level in barding real quick. Here, let me sing you a song.
A level in barding. You're gonna put armor on your pet, huh?
Shut up.
Got him.
I'm gonna take a level in Bard. All right, I'm gonna sing you some inspiration.
Okay.
One of these things is not like the others. One of these things just doesn't belong. Oh my gosh, yeah, this makes Friends a usable cantrip.
Yeah, it makes Friends actually kind of like really good.
Really, really powerful.
Yeah, I mean, still not like insanely powerful, but for a cantrip, quite good.
Well, I mean, yeah, for something that's for free and what Friends says is that for a non-hostile creature, you gain advantage on all charisma ability skill checks to interact with them, basically. Yep. And so that's basically charm without the attacking caveats and things like that. So you can just cast friends on every single,
literally everyone forever,
because they'll never go hostile.
Also,
like, the only other way Friends used to be viable is if you were a warlock with Mask of Many Faces, and you would cast Friends on someone disguised as somebody else. That's the only way it was viable.
Ah, the old Gray Fox cowl trick.
Yeah, that's basically what you had to do in order for it to be. And then they called the guards on you, because that's what Friends becomes.
There's also the, and we don't need to get into this whole discussion right now, but the discussion I've seen before. There have been answers from people like Jeremy Crawford on this subject, but some of them have conflicted with each other.
Uh-huh.
Casting a spell with no components, is that the same as subtle spell? And is it required to cast it, like, sneakily? Can you make a stealth check if you cast a spell with components? Especially if those components would be, let's say, verbal or somatic.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man.
Well,
that's a whole
I would say because it said like it is a verbal component and a somatic component. Casting it with no components means it is cast. You do not need to move. You do not need to talk. You do not need to touch anything, and the spell is cast.
Yes, but did anyone notice?
Well, that's the thing. Is if somebody's got to detect magic up, they're going to see it happen.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing. Or if someone's paying attention to the shopkeep's behavior and all of a sudden they're being super chummy with you when they definitely were not a second ago,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's just the whole thing, especially with like in the message part of it. It's like it doesn't need components, and also you don't need to point towards someone now. Was that not part of just the somatic component of casting the spell? It's all weird. There's a lot of the somatic and verbal components of a spell can sometimes get a little bit dense and weird as far as how they
especially
interact.
considering like if I remember correctly, the material component of Friends is you like smudge a bit of makeup on the person's face.
Not on your face?
I think you have to smudge it on their face. If I remember, I can look it up real quick. Hold on.
I think it might be on your face, but I like your version better.
Mine is much more like, wait, what? As the spell wears off, they cast Friends on me, and that's why they get mad at you.
Wait a minute, I'm wearing makeup. I think the whole inside joke was that the friend spell is literally you just put makeup on, and it's not even magical.
So it actually doesn't specify in the spell. Oh. It says a small amount of makeup applied to the face as the spell is cast.
It doesn't say your or there. That just says the face. When I say the face, you know the one I mean. That's so good. That's hilarious. Okay, we're spending too long on this. Overall, the Friends one, good. Mage Hand, not that, whatever, it's fine.
Well,
Message,
especially
whatever.
Considering if you want this ability for Mage Hand, just take the telekinetic feat that's added. So,
and if you want this ability for Message, just take the telepathic feat.
Yeah, if you want all of these things, just take the feats and grab Friends and run with it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, hit me with that 6th level feature.
All right, Thought Form. This is where the fact that you have a special focus given to you doesn't make any sense.
We ghosts now.
We are all ghosts. At 6th level, when you are carrying your... Oh, I guess you can only do it with your focus. When you are carrying your Psionic Focus, you can use a bonus action to magically transform your body into pure psionic energy. The transformation lasts for 10 minutes, or until you use a bonus action to assume your normal form, or until you are incapacitated or die. While in thought form, you are a figure of luminous psychic energy. With your
luminous beings, are we?
With your psionic focus hovering within, your form can appear as anything you wish, but it is obviously magical. Is the same size as you and sheds dim light in a 5-foot radius. Any other equipment you are wearing or carrying transforms with you and melds into your thought form. You also gain the following benefits. Psionic Spell-Casting. You can cast a spell while in thought form. You can cast the spell psionically. If you do so, the spell doesn't require verbal, somatic, or material components that lack a gold cost. All those verbal components that require gold.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's material components that lack a gold cost. Sure.
But sentence-wise, that was just fun. You also gain psychic resilience. You gain resistance to psychic damage and to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage from non-magical attacks.
Oh, we barbarians now.
We're bad barbarians now. You can transform using this feature a number of times equal to your intelligence modifier, minimum of once, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. So this is kind of where, all of these abilities require that you have your psychic focus, and all of them say you don't need to use components to use these abilities. Which is then what's the point of so the point of my focus is that I don't need components, but the point of a focus is that it replaces certain components anyways. So what's the point of my focus if it's not focusing my focus?
Yeah, no, for sure. It's very much like they're trying to reflavor it as, you don't need the focus really, it doesn't get involved in the spell casting, but it's involved in to turn into a ghost, you need it. So if someone took it from you, you could not become a ghost. You'd have to get it back. But that's weird and kind of dumb. So
and the whole thing of removing material components that lack a gold cost, it's just unless your hands are bound or you're trying to do what we were talking about before, sneaky casting, none of that is ever an issue.
Yeah.
What is the point of getting rid of verbal, somatic? That is such a niche scenario if it's not getting rid of spells that require a material component to cast.
Yeah.
That it's such a niche, that's the thing, is there's an argument because we talked about subtle spell as a meta magic sorcerers get. And there are various arguments where it's subtle spell is pointless. No, subtle spell saved my life, because in a generic, everyone in a vacuum kind of a thing, subtle spell is a bad meta magic to take. If you're in a scenario where you need to be sneaky and where your hands are bound, subtle spell is great. I think if you're trying to be sneaky or if your hands are bound, turning into your thought form kind of negates those anyways, because you become a luminous non-physical being that is super bright, so everyone will see you.
Well, wait a minute though. Okay, currently I don't believe our thought form can pass through objects or anything. I think we get that later.
Yeah.
So currently, you would still be shackled up, but you're just a ghost who's shackled up, and you can't get out of it.
I guess.
So it would still bind you, but that is, now that I did not realize that until this moment, that you only get the ability to be a real ghost later.
Yeah, and that's another one of those things then, where it's if it doesn't do that, then why am I a ghost?
What is this? Yeah, I don't know. Weird. Okay, let's move on to the next one. 10th level feature, Mental Discipline. Your mind's power expands to greater heights. Big brain time. When you gain this feature, choose one of the following spells: Dominate Person, Scrying, or Telekinesis. You can add that spell to your spellbook, and you can cast it without components. Good. Didn't need my focus anyway, thanks. You can also cast the chosen spell once without expending a spell slot. That's okay. That's pretty good. After you do so, you can regain the ability to cast the spell without a slot when you finish a long rest. Yeah, I mean, Dominate Person without a spell slot and without components is pretty hype.
Yeah, it's an action that takes over somebody's brain, and you can hide the fact that you're doing it. That's pretty neat. I'm trying to look up if any of these even, because Dominate Person doesn't normally.
Scrying needs a silver bowl worth whatever.
Okay, so then that's probably where you want to do it, is because then you can scry without getting a component.
Yeah.
Sure. Because Dominate Person doesn't require this, and this is just metagame Onog going in right now.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like, and what does telekinesis require? Yeah, also verbal and somatic. So yeah, I mean, you could make somebody think there was a ghost moving things around, I guess.
Yeah.
But other than that, yeah, the ability of like, oh, you don't have to do components. Well, they were already verbal or they were already verbal or somatic. Yeah, like the only one that even requires a material component is, geez, and it has to be 1,000 gold.
Yeah, scrying's no joke.
Jeez.
Yeah. That's why you can't
so it's
cast
like
that
so
all the
yeah,
time, folks.
the answer is you pick scrying and save your money for something else.
I get okay. So one of the things we're kind of harping on it. So I do want to put in this like caveat here. The casting a spell without any components, even if it didn't really require any that much anyways, has apparently always been a big deal with like psionics. That was like the flavor was they didn't require, you didn't have to talk or move, it just the spell occurred.
You're just psychically doing it.
Some of that is I think what they're trying to preserve here. But as you and I are like noting and kind of dunking on it about, it doesn't really matter that much. Like I get that you're preserving that flavor, but really, is it worth it? Why not just have a better feature, you know?
Yeah,
like,
it's kind of like what we've harped on with like the Beastmaster Ranger before. Is like we are so tantalizingly close to old mechanics that used to be true that it keeps skirting with that. And so it's basically sitting there showing us what could have been and saying, yeah, but you don't have that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why like we're reacting the way that we're reacting, is because the game is telling us one thing, but our mind is going, but wait, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Let's move on to the next one here. A 10th level feature, Empowered Psionics.
Yeah, you get this at the same level as Mental Discipline.
Yeah.
When you deal psychic or force damage with a wizard spell, you can add your intelligence modifier to the damage against one of the spell's targets.
And reroll ones from earlier. So
yeah, and you can reroll ones from earlier. So you're becoming a mild like elemental master, like without taking any feats. It's just your element is psychic and force damage. Now it is interesting to note that I'm pretty sure evocation wizards get this exact ability for evocation spells at 6th level. So take that with a grain of salt. It seems that
sure.
Yeah, the things that already exist sort of are getting these higher level abilities much earlier than the other things, as we talked about with the rogue.
Yeah, definitely. And then our capstone ability at 14th level. Thought Travel. Now we real ghosts. While using your thought form, you have a flying speed equal to your walking speed and can hover, and can move through other creatures and objects as if they were difficult terrain. You take a d10 force damage if you end your turn inside an object. If you return to your normal form while inside an object, you are shunted to the nearest unoccupied space, and you take 1d10 force damage for every 5 feet traveled.
So, yeah.
I think that the Dungeons and Dragons rules are the only rules where I ever see the verb shunt. I just don't interact with that word on a very regular like occurrence.
I think it's like
shunted.
a sword playing ability, like a sword fighting name or verb or word used for like shunting a sword away.
Yeah. And it's just really weird because a bunch of spells reference it because anytime you're traveling through an object, they use that to describe what happens to you. But it's also such a weird, archaic word. Yeah. Shunted. Yeah, so...
Just your basic etherealness rule set of you can walk through stuff.
But that's it. Like,
but at 14th level, you can teleport, so, like... Have fun.
Yeah, like, what is this? Why is this not part of it when you already can turn into it at 6th level? Would that be too good? Birds?
Would that be too powerful?
Can fly. Aarakocra can fly.
Yeah.
What's the problem here?
Well, Aarakocra are also banned in, like, official D&D.
I know, whatever. They designed it, they have to live with it, okay? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is, like, yeah, this feels like it should have just been a part of the 6th level ability. Anytime where there's like a high level ability that says this other ability is now as good as you thought it was in the first place.
Yeah.
That's probably a mistake somewhere has been made.
I agree. Not necessarily a mistake in that like the people who did it are incompetent, but I mean like a mistake in like they're prioritizing in a way that I disagree with.
Right.
Yeah,
And I guess that wouldn't be so much as a mistake as just like, yeah, I don't agree with that. Like if all of my, and that's the thing, I think we've talked about this in homebrews before, like when we talked about the strongest barbarian, or even the Sekiro assassin like rogue, where one of our primary complaints was a lot of these higher level abilities are making the other previous abilities better. It's not like a brand new ability. It's just something that's sort of augmenting a thing I could already do. And as a capstone, that doesn't feel good at all.
Exactly. Yeah. Capstones, you want them to feel like they're something new, or that you
have literally reached the peak of your psionic ability.
Like, a good capstone, if we want to talk about some good examples, are like when we talk about the druid capstone of you can wild shape as many times as you want forever now. That modifies an earlier ability, but feels good because you go, oh wow, that's amazing. That's incredibly good.
Yeah, if all of the capstones were, you don't need to worry about your resources anymore, that would be great.
That'd be insane.
That'd be
But
bonkers.
Even like, yeah. But even other ones that give you new abilities, like they have to be interesting. Mm. This is just, your ghost form is actually a ghost now. And I thought when I read it, it already was. So what's the point of like delaying this to be my big final achievement?
Yeah, it's so weird that it's like you become an ethereal, luminous form that is still very physically there. Yeah.
Even though it's called thought, you're made of thoughts, your thought form. Mm-hmm. You are still physical. You don't get any bonuses to AC because you're like translucent or anything. You get resistance to non-magical bludgeoning, piercing, slashing.
Yeah, which
psychic.
is at sixth level is when things start becoming magical.
Exactly.
Like that doesn't even help you. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. It's kind of like what we talked about in the overview, where it's just like the wizard in particular. A lot of the abilities just seem to be either like, why would I care about that, or that doesn't do anything at this level.
I think that the concept of I turn into a sort of like mind energy being is like fine. Like we put that up on the whiteboard. I would be part of the group that goes, yeah, I'm into this. This doesn't feel like the way to do it. This isn't...
Like, look at a similar kind of ability that already exists in Magic. The Sword Coast Adventure Guide introduced blade singing wizards to 5th edition, which had been a subclass before, just like most everything that we've been interacting with in 5th edition. And what the blade song wizard does is it also has a limited use ability that brings it to an exalted state, kind of a thing. The blade song increases their AC. It uses their intelligence to modify their AC. So it's granting a physical benefit to their more ethereal aspects. You know, it lets them move faster. It gives them advantage on concentrating on spells. Or not advantage, but like it gives them a boost to concentrating on spells. And so it's like this. Let's compare this to the Blade Singer. First of all, the Blade Singer gets that ability at 2nd level. You have to wait till 6 levels in before you even get the ability to pretend to be a ghost, and then you have to wait. 9 or 8 more levels to actually be a ghost. So it kind of feels weird, and it falls a little short of like what you should be spending your time on as a wizard.
I feel like, there's always the other half of wizards, which is their spell list, right? Like a lot of the times wizard subclass features are less, like they're a little underwhelming, but they're wizards. They get infinite, they get all the spells, so it kind of makes up for it. But I feel like in the design space, there's always this conversation about, is this better as a feature or is this better as a spell? Because some features could easily be a spell if you just gave them, the subtype spell instead of once per day or something like that. But especially when we look through all the spells in this document, I think there are some spells in here that would have been better suited as inspiration for wizard features than as a spell in its own right.
Especially a psychic wizard kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's the thing is like, oh, cool, you've got psychic wizards and then you have the psychic wizard spell. Well, guess what? I'm just going to make a normal wizard and then use all the psychic wizard spells. Take all those spells.
Exactly. So then what's the point of being a bad ghost? Exactly. Yeah, so that's my kind of final parting thoughts on it is I think maybe there could be some design work where we rework some of those cool ideas they had for psychic spells into some of these features instead so that this feels more uniquely psychic and less like I can be any wizard and just take these psychic spells and be better than this guy at being psychic. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What are your parting thoughts on it, Onog?
My parting thoughts is the idea of a psychic focus is laughable because the whole point of psychic is that you don't need to have anything. Mm-hmm. And so it's kind of like insult to injury. It's like not only are
the game was rigged from the start.
Yeah, not only are these hardcore old edition fans not getting their mystic anytime soon, but our pathetic attempts at creating a psychic or more accurately a psionic character is just a reflavored wizard with abilities you don't want to use.
Mm-hmm. Pretty harsh. I'll be real with you, Onog. You're dunking on them pretty hard.
I mean, it's their job.
Uh-huh.
And that's the thing, is it's like I understand that, but at the same time it's just like this is Unearthed Arcana and they want our feedback. And my feedback is nah, no thanks. I'd rather you didn't.
And with that, we'll wrap up, listeners. Thanks so much for listening. Let us know what you think of the psionic arcane tradition here. In the comment section below, remember to like and subscribe for future D&D content, and tell us what you think of being a kind of a bad ghost and what your ideas for
I'm dunking on them
for feedback on this wizard subclass are. And that'll bring our side quest to a close, and nobody even died. We'll see you next time. Keep on adventuring.
Good luck.